The most shocking interrogation you've ever seen. Markeith Loyd. The shocking case of Markeith Loyd has captivated the nation, with the man accused of murdering Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton and his pregnant ex-girlfriend Sade Dixon. Brand new allegations have emerged that the police mistreated Loyd during his interrogation. This explosive development has raised questions about police conduct and justice in America. Let's dive deep into the accusations and examine the evidence, shedding light on a case that has sent shockwaves through the country. Don't forget to like and subscribe for fascinating content from our channel. Orlando police accused of mistreating Markeith Loyd. In December 2016, Markeith Loyd was interrogated about the murder of his pregnant ex-girlfriend Sade Dixon whilst he was already accused of killing Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. The interrogation video offers a chilling insight into Loyd's cold and calculated mindset as he calmly admits to fatally shooting Dixon and her brother, Ronald Stewart, who tried to intervene. Loyd's motive for the killing was Dixon's decision to have an abortion, which enraged him. The video also reveals that Dixon's mother and youngest son were shot at by Loyd as they rushed to help the victims. The court proceedings following Loyd's confession have been highly contentious, with the defense attempting to argue an insanity plea. However, Loyd was found competent to stand trial and was convicted of Dixon's murder. In the courtroom, the tension was palpable as Terrace Lenneman, attorney for Markeith Loyd, played a video for the judge and jury. The footage showed officers interrogating Loyd, and in it, one officer was heard making disparaging remarks to Loyd. "You're a expletive victim every expletive time you decide to pull out a gun. No, I'm giving you respect, man," the officer said. Lenneman argued that the Orlando Police Department failed to follow proper procedures and policies when dealing with Loyd. He claimed that the video of Loyd proved this and that the officers involved in the interrogation had a deep-seated hatred for his client. "This is what this is about, Judge," Lenneman said. "This is about putting in front of a jury evidence of anger, hate, and a focused disconnect for following the rules and making sure things are done the right way." In court, the prosecutors believed that Markeith Loyd had intentionally and cruelly shot Lieutenant Deborah Clayton and that any mistreatment he faced during interrogation was insignificant compared to the severity of his crime. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the defense and prosecution presented their arguments. The defense contended that Loyd was not of sound mind when he allegedly shot Clayton, while the prosecution argued that Loyd was fully aware of his actions and had even worn a bulletproof vest during the shooting. The judge's ruling was critical, and it was decided that two state experts, a psychologist and a psychiatrist, would assess Loyd's mental state at the time of the shooting. The defense team would have a psychologist examine Loyd to strengthen their case. In the case of Markeith Loyd, who is accused of killing Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, Judge Letitia Marquez presided over a hearing where she ruled that two state experts, a psychologist and a psychiatrist, would evaluate Loyd to determine if he had a mental illness when the alleged crime was committed. The defense teams claimed that Loyd had a mental infirmity at the time of the crime, either not understanding the nature of his actions or their consequences, or not realizing that his actions were wrong due to his condition. The state experts will examine Loyd to assess the validity of these claims, and the examinations will occur after the defense experts finish their tests. The date of the examination, however, was not determined during the hearing. During the examination, the defense team will be allowed to video record the meeting. However, Loyd's attorney, Terry Lenneman, objected to the requirement that they provide a copy of the video to the state. The judge ruled against Lenneman's objective, and the defense will have to provide the state with a copy of the video. Judge Marquez made two rulings regarding the upcoming trial of Markeith Loyd, who is accused of killing Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. The judge denied the use of jury questionnaires, but stated that potential jurors could be questioned individually about the issue of insanity. There were two matters that were addressed but not yet ruled on. The first is about how much of the case involving Loyd's previous victim, Sade Dixon, can be discussed during the Clayton trial. The second matter is whether a video of Loyd's interrogation after his arrest can be used as evidence. The judge had previously decided that the state couldn't mention Loyd's murder of his pregnant ex-girlfriend prior to Clayton's killing unless the defense first introduced evidence or facts from such a case. During a hearing on Friday, Loyd's attorney, Terrence Lenneman, expressed his has confidence that the Dixon case, in which Loyd was convicted of first-degree murder for killing his pregnant ex-girlfriend, will be brought up during the upcoming trial. Judge Letitia Marquez did not make a ruling on the matter of whether a video of Loyd's interrogation after his arrest can be used, as the defense has not yet specified which portions of the video they want to include. Frustrated with the lack of clarity, Judge Marquez stated, "This is rapidly becoming pointless because we're talking in circles here and you have no idea what I saw. The video will instead be discussed during a pre-trial hearing." Lenneman claims that the video shows Loyd moaning in pain and requesting medical attention, but instead of providing help, the officers on the tape mocked and laughed at Loyd. According to records, Loyd was subjected to physical abuse by 4 Orlando police officers who kicked him in the face, hit him with their rifles, punched him, and delivered repeated blows. As a result, Loyd's face was visibly swollen and he lost an eye due to the beating he received. Loyd's attorney, Terrence Lenneman, claims that the detectives who interrogated Loyd were biased against him and didn't listen to his requests to loosen the handcuffs, all because Loyd was accused of killing Clayton. Lenneman believes that the detectives' relationship with Clayton caused them to ignore the rules and policies that they should have followed. Lenneman also wants the jury to see a video that shows the fatal confrontation outside Walmart. He believes that there is evidence showing that Clayton fired at Loyd first, but the authorities have not investigated this claim, and Lenneman believes that the circumstances surrounding the officer-involved shooting have been ignored. Loyd's attorney, Terrence Lenneman, claims that there is evidence that Lieutenant Deborah Clayton fired the first shot during the fatal confrontation outside Walmart, which resulted in a shootout between her and Loyd. Lenneman says the rooftop cameras captured the entire incident. Loyd will sit alongside his lawyers at the defense table during Tuesday's hearing and not in the jury box surrounded by guards. Loyd also requested a new judge, citing misinformation presented by the Orange County Sheriff's Office about the Dixon shooting and a desire for the jury to see the entire interrogation video. 2022 update on Loyd's murder case. The jury's decision had the courtroom overflowing with anticipation as people held their breath in anticipation. After what seemed like an eternity, the verdict was announced. Markeith Loyd was to be sentenced to death. Loyd, now 45, has been accused of shooting police officer Deborah Clayton outside of a Walmart back in January 2017. Clayton had been attempting to apprehend Loyd for the murder of his ex-girlfriend Sade Dixon, which had occurred just a few weeks before. The air was thick with tension and grief as the families of both victims looked on, hoping for justice to be served. Following the shooting of Clayton, a manhunt had begun to find Loyd. It was a search that would span weeks and involve countless law enforcement agencies. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Orlando police officers located Loyd in an abandoned house. However, what followed was far from a peaceful arrest. According to court records, Loyd was beaten mercilessly by the officers during the process of his arrest. The brutality was so severe that Loyd lost an eye as a result. Despite pleading not guilty, Loyd claimed that he had shot Clayton in self-defense, but the jury was unmoved and Loyd was found guilty. Following the verdict, Loyd seemed almost resigned to his fate. "I waive my Spencer hearing. I want to be sentenced today," he said. "You've been doing this kind of stuff all along." His words were haunting, and those present in the courtroom could feel the weight of his desperation. As he turned to his family, he said, "These people have been trying to kill me." It was a chilling moment that left everyone in the room reeling. The memories of Markeith Loyd's horrific crimes still haunt the residents of Orlando to this day. In November, Loyd was finally found guilty of the senseless murder of Orlando police officer Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, which took place back in 2017. The community experienced mixed emotions as they grappled with the verdict, feeling both relieved and sorrowful due to the loss of someone from their community. A recap of Loyd's reign of terror. To fully understand the events that transpired, it's crucial to look back at how it all began. From his troubled past to his alleged crimes, this recap will delve into the history of Markeith Loyd's reign of terror. In 2019, he was given a sentence that was almost too lenient for the heinous crimes he'd committed. Loyd was to spend the rest of his life in prison for the killings of his ex-girlfriend Sade Dixon and her unborn child. The courtroom was filled with both anger and despair as the judge handed down the sentence. The shooting that ultimately led to Loyd's conviction was just one of the many horrific events that occurred during his time on the run. According to police reports, Loyd had fatally shot Dixon during an argument outside of their home in December 2016, a senseless act of violence that left the community reeling. But the details of the case only got more disturbing from there. Court documents revealed that on the night of Dixon's murder, Loyd had gone to her house to try and convince her not to get an abortion. What followed was a nightmare that that no one could have anticipated. Loyd claimed that Dixon had pulled a gun on him, but he had taken it away from her. Ronald Stewart arrived to check on his sister and her ex-boyfriend, Markeith Loyd. Suddenly, Loyd drew his weapon and fired at the siblings as they tried to retreat inside the house. Stephanie Dixon Daniels watched in horror as her children were shot right before her eyes. Despite her efforts to help, Loyd turned the gun on her and her younger son, Dominique Daniels, who narrowly escaped death. As the trial progressed, Stephanie and Dominique's heart-wrenching testimony added to the intensity of the situation. The courtroom palpably felt the anguish and pain they experienced that fateful night. Loyd, stone-faced, received a life sentence for the murder of his ex-girlfriend, but it was far from over. Law enforcement officials combed the city for any sign of Loyd for a week. Finally, a vigilant shopper spotted him at a Walmart and quickly alerted the authorities. The scene turned chaotic as Loyd and Lieutenant Deborah Clayton engaged in a shootout in the Walmart parking lot. Gunfire echoed through the lot as shoppers fled in terror. In the end, Lieutenant Clayton lost her life and Loyd was sentenced to death for her murder. The autopsy revealed that Clayton sustained 4 gunshot wounds, one which was fatal, striking her in the neck. Based on the angle of the wound, it appeared that Loyd had stood over her as she lay on the ground. Although Loyd's mental health had been a contentious issue during the trial, he was deemed competent to proceed with the sentencing and hearing. During the trial, clinical psychologist Xavier Amador testified that Loyd believed he was a slave and that the police officers and prosecutors were his slave masters who were attempting to kill him. After Loyd was sentenced to death, Orlando Police Chief Orlando Rolon released a statement saying, "While nothing can undo the heartache caused by the defendant's despicable actions, we hope that this provides some comfort to our community, knowing that a dangerous killer will face the harshest punishment allowed by the law." The documentary about Markeith Loyd's interrogation is a powerful and thought-provoking piece that sheds light on the complexities of the criminal justice system. While the events depicted in the documentary are certainly shocking, they also raise important questions about police conduct, mental illness, and the rights of defendants. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.